about to go down. Down, the Lions down. Kaboom! They flip the fuse, and they are going to take the game here. It's just a bit more. Frost's charmed it, and it's the kiss of death for him. A triple kill coming in for Tinos, and I can't believe it, D-Man. Kaboom! Takes the game over Alliance. What the hell just happened?
Have you heard about esports and wondered what all the hype is about? Or maybe you're a pro gaming fan and you're just curious to learn more about it. In this video, we're going to talk about what esports is, why it's so popular, and also discuss some of the potential health risks that are happening in the industry. What's up everyone, Cam here, and today I'm really excited to talk about esports. Do you know what esports is? If you do, say yes in the comments, and if you don't, say no. Esports is one of the hottest topics around the world these days, and I even recently spoke at the NCAA all about it. But did you know that esports actually dates back to the early 90s? The rise of the internet brought online gaming, and it was inevitable that we would eventually see organized competitions. In 1997, 2,000 people played in a Quake tournament, and Quake was the hottest arena shooter game at the time. Shortly after, the Cyber Athlete Professional League, also known as the CPL, was formed, and they hosted their first tournament. While it took off rapidly, it certainly wasn't the industry it is today. Fun fact about Cam, I actually volunteered to work for Civo as one of their customer support people back in the day when I played Counter-Strike. As organized competitions began to be formed, so too were prize pools, and one tournament by the CPL just prior to the year 2000 actually had a prize pool of $15,000. Now, I would take $15,000 today, so it's certainly not chump change, but it definitely has nothing in comparison to tournaments these days that can be upwards of $25 million. That's a 150,000% increase during this 20-year span. Fast forward to 2019 and there are international competitions happening all over the world. There are scholarships for college students, there's a high school league, and some tournaments even have more viewers than the Super Bowl and the Final Four. As we can see, esports is now a global phenomenon. So what is esports and why is it so popular? Esports simply stands for electronic sports. It's organized, competitive gaming. It can happen at the high school level, the college level, and even the professional level. It involves players playing against each other in multiplayer games, and this even happens in stadiums with tens of thousands of people. And people don't just watch the games in person, but the live streaming aspect is a really large part of the industry. And this happens on websites like Twitch, YouTube, and Panda TV. Esports has become popular simply because gaming has become popular. Did you know that there are over 2.6 billion active gamers worldwide in 2019? 83% of teenage girls play video games regularly and almost all teenage boys. So with this amount of people playing video games, it's no surprise that the organized professional competition element of it, esports, has also grown very large and got a lot of viewers. It's a way that gamers are able to feel a part of something. Before organized competitive gaming, esports came about, gamers were kind of shunned to their own small communities, whereas now they can be the biggest stars in the world earning millions of dollars. And esports really isn't any different than young football players looking up to Tom Brady or young basketball players looking up to LeBron James. Esports isn't really that different from traditional sports, especially just in the way that people look up to the star players. If you would have told me 10 years ago that there would be college scholarships for esports, I might have thought that you were crazy. But here we are in 2019, where in the US alone, there's over 600 universities or colleges that have either a club team, a varsity team, or a college scholarship available for esports. And that's not all. In the US, there's also 19,000 high schools signed up for the High School Esports League. And these scholarships are also available in countries like Australia, both at the high school and college level. And I certainly believe that within 18 to 24 months, these scholarships will begin to be available worldwide. Especially with the growth in the US, where only a couple years ago there were a couple scholarships available, and now there's significantly more. The growth has been very rapid and it's coming on very hot. Even traditional professional sport teams and owners are getting involved, and celebrities as well. People like Drake and Scooter Braun, Michael Jordan, Mark Cuban, Shaq. They're all getting involved and investing in esports. And did you know that gamers actually spend just as much time gaming as they do watching other people play video games? Now, if you struggle to understand why a gamer would want to watch someone else play video games, you can think of it like maybe if you've ever watched a cooking show. People don't just watch cooking shows to learn new recipes or new techniques. Sometimes that's occasionally why they do it, but maybe it's just entertaining. You enjoy the personality of the chef, or maybe you enjoy the competition like MasterChef, or maybe it's just cool background noise because it's a hobby that you enjoy taking part in. The same is true for gamers. Sometimes they're watching one of the best players in the world and learning techniques. Sometimes it's just a personality, and sometimes it's just a competition or it's background noise of a hobby that they're passionate about. And streaming also allows them to feel a part of it because you're able to chat and donate and interact with that player who you kind of look up to. It's similar to things like Instagram stories or Twitter or other social media platforms where you feel like you're actually able to interact with that celebrity or that person you look up to instead of just hearing about them in the news. And with club teams at school, you're able to feel like if gaming's a passion of yours, that you're a part of it. You're no longer kind of shunned as this weird nerd gamer, and instead you're part of something that your school even has a team for or is out there competing on your school's behalf. So it is something that you very much feel a part of. It's a community, it's a culture. So there's no doubt that esports can be a force for good in the world, but what about the other side? Is there a dark side to esports? I'm sure most of you watching would agree that sitting in a chair staring at a screen all day is not the most healthy thing. But if you want to become an esports star, that's very likely something that you have to do. One of the biggest League of Legends stars in the world, Faker, reportedly plays 12 to 16 hours a day. And with this culture of having to play a lot to become the next best esports star, it can certainly become a way that younger gamers will justify excessive play in order to get that college scholarship or in order to make it a career. A lot of people like to argue that there's no difference between esports and traditional sports, and although I agree in certain ways, I disagree in the way that you have to practice. As an esports player, you practice a lot and you're very much sitting down, typically in a dark room staring at a screen. Whereas as a hockey player, I was moving my body, I was on the ice, and I would only be on the ice for maybe an hour a day, maybe 2 max. To be the best hockey player I needed to be, it was everything around hockey that actually made a difference. From having a really good diet, to having good mindsets, to setting myself up in a way where if I didn't make it in hockey, I would still be taken care of through business. A recent study showed that the average college esports player practices for 4 hours a day, but the majority of these players will go back to their rooms and practice for many more hours on their own. So although I'm happy that they're taking it seriously, we do need to make sure that we're keeping things like diet and health and fitness very much at the forefront of this conversation. And I am happy to see that a lot of esports teams are beginning to incorporate these sorts of behaviors. But it's got a long way to go, and common injuries in esports are neck and back pain, eye strain, wrist and hand injuries. And while you could argue that these are actually better injuries to have than what traditional sports will bring you, the unspoken injury in esports is actually to mental health. Injuries such as anxiety and depression have become very prevalent in esports. If you spend all day training, eating, socializing, and sleeping with your teammates, say in South Korea, like the team houses that they have, it can be very difficult to make friends outside of that bubble. And as a result, when players get stressed, they have nowhere else to go other than their screens. And because esports is so popular and so many of these players are accessible on social media platforms, there can be a lot of hate mail and trolling that they end up receiving. Being engaged in this environment 24/7, no matter if you're an esports star or someone else, is not going to be the best for your mental health. And although I've seen an improvement to attitudes in mental health and esports over the last few years, it's not uncommon for players who speak out about this to be labeled as weak and soft and for that to potentially affect their career. The point being that they're unable to withstand the pressure, and hey, look, you are living the dream. You're able to play games as a career, so you should just suck it up and be able to handle it. When there's millions of young players out there hungry to be the next esports star, why would you have a player on your team who is kind of failing under the pressure? And this kind of goes hand in hand with the careers in esports being very short. With traditional sports, sometimes you can play well into your 30s and occasionally even into your 40s, whereas in esports, once you're in your mid-20s, you're already past your prime. Video games are designed to be fun, but sometimes when it becomes your profession, reality can become the opposite. Fortunately, the industry is improving, especially in America. Recently, I've seen a lot of initiatives around esports mental health and physical health, making sure that they have trainers involved to make sure that their training regimes are not just about playing video games, but everything else around it to make sure that they're able to play to their best of their ability. But countries like China, Korea, and Japan are still behind in this, and they do tend to have more of a culture of having to work really hard, and if you're not able to handle it, too bad. It's not surprising that teams from Asia tend to be some of the strongest on the world stage, but at what cost? The rise of esports is a monumental step forward for the gaming industry, and it's something that I personally believe to be an advocate for. I believe that if you're able to game in a healthy way, you should have avenues to turn that into a career. Just like if you're not able to game in a healthy way, you should also have avenues to be able to get some support. As long as we can maintain an emphasis on gaming in a healthy way, whether you're pursuing esports or not, that's really what my whole message is about. I think esports actually gives us an incredible opportunity to share that message. I think live streams and tournaments should have flyers of just how to keep gaming to be a healthy thing, what warning signs to look out for if it's becoming a problem, and what resources are available to keep it a healthy and balanced, a fun thing instead of pursuing esports, but to the detriment of your own health and well-being. So as always, thanks for watching. Share in the comments below, are you a fan of esports? Have you tried to pursue it as a career? And how did that work out for you? Are you concerned about some of the negative health implications of pursuing esports? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, hit the like button, hit subscribe to be updated on new videos as they are released, and I hope that you're having a great day. All right, peace.